So, hi everyone, thank you for being here today. I'm Emmanuel. I'm a French web developer living for a couple of months in Scotland, and I wanted to share a tool I use for the dress code projects, and we have decided to do this presentation to anybody. So that's why you are here today. I don't have any slides because I don't like slides. I will just do live coding. If you have any question, do not hesitate to ask them on the chat window. The chat window is open on my side, so I can reply to your question as soon as possible. So today we're going to talk about Playwright. Playwright is an open source project, developed by Microsoft that we can use in order to write UI, user interface test. We have similar kind of projects. For example, we have Cypress, we have Selenium. Playwright is another one. The main goal of this kind of project is to be able to launch automatically a browser, can be Chrome, Firefox, Safari, go to a website and test that your website is properly works properly. And we can write code for Playwright with a lot of programming language. We can write with JavaScript or TypeScript. We can write tests with Java. We can write tests with, I think, Python and .NET, but during this presentation, I will use JavaScript as a programming language. And you will see that Playwright gives us the possibility to generate tests without writing a single line of code also. So if you are not a developer, you maybe will be able to use Playwright on your next project. So let's go. I have my terminal somewhere. I will zoom maybe. Sorry, I'm not in the wrong folder. So let's create a new folder. So let's say Scottish Tech Army. And I will initialize a project. It doesn't matter. It's just for the demo. Sorry for that. I have some issue. Some issue with my version. So when we have a Node.js project, we can install Playwright via the npm command line interface, and we can ask Playwright to generate the configuration file we will need to our project. So let's initialize Playwright with the latest version. It will ask me a few questions first, normally. If the network is okay with me today, it should ask me some question. Please, Playwright. Please. Why? Playwright latest. Oh yeah, sorry. So I will write TypeScript code. I will put my tests in the test folder. I don't care about GitHub. And I will ask Playwright to install the browser in order to be able to use them during my test. When this is done, I will open my IDE and we will try to write our first test together. So if I open my IDE, I don't know on which screen it will open it. It's not yet open. Of course, we have an update during a presentation. This is my IDE. As you can see here, we have a configuration file where we can see multiple configuration about Playwright. And we have a very, very, very simple test here. This is TypeScript, but you can do the same kind of things with Python, .NET, and Java, as I said before. As you can see here, we test an existing website, but you can test your own project. It's not a problem at all. We just need the URL of the website we need to test. So, for example, here, I want to visit this website. I want to verify that the title of this website is equal to something. And I can add multiple kind of tests afterwards. So we have this simple test, but how can we run it? We can run this test in two modes. In headless mode via the terminal, but also with a UI mode where you can see automatically all the tests that will be executed. So I will run both in front of you. So Playwright tests. It will find my test, and you see we have 6 tests because it will run these 2 tests 3 times. Why Playwright will execute these 2 tests 3 times? Because in my configuration file, I say that I want to execute my test on 3 different browsers: Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. So thanks to Playwright, we are able to be sure that our code runs properly on different kind of browser. So normally my test passed because I didn't do any modification. So let's do a quick change. Let's say just to make it fail, I update the title. If I run again the test command line, it must fail normally. And as you can see, it tests, and I have a good error message that say that we are looking for the HTA string, but in fact, in the website we have visited, Playwright has found this title, so it doesn't match, so we have an error. Okay, and automatically, when we have failing tests, Playwright will generate something like a dashboard where you can understand why my tests are failing. So if I'm visiting this auto-generated website, I can see that I have 3 tests that are failing on Chrome, Firefox, and WebKit. And I can click on this test and I can see the information about the problem. So this is the way of running Playwright via the terminal. If I add an extra option on my command line interface, it will run this test with a real browser. So let's do that. You can see that we have a dedicated Playwright interface where we can see our different tests. We can run these tests. And on the right, you will see your website render properly. So as you can see here, my test still failed because I didn't change my implementation, but we can see here the website on the right. What can be interesting is we can also run this test in a watch mode. What is a watch mode? Watch mode is every time we change something, the test will automatically be re-executed by Playwright. We can enable the watch mode on a dedicated test or more globally. It depends on what kind of task you are working on. So let's say we want to run this as title test in watch mode, I just need to click on this icon. It's not very accessible. I don't know if it's on or off, but let's say it's on. If I go back to my IDE and revert my changes, I didn't click anywhere. My tests are executed automatically. So if you are working a new feature and you have a test that is already there, you can run this test, do your refactoring, and be sure that you are not breaking something in your application. So, okay, let's test something more interesting. Let's have a look to a website. Which one? The one I use to do MVC. Let's write a Playwright test for this simple to-do list. So I will, I hide my address bar. Okay, so what can I do with Playwright? So I visit a new website. We have an API that we can use to manipulate the page. What kind of stuff we can do with the page? We can get some elements. We can get some information about an element, but we can do also actions. We can type into a form input. We can click on a button. We can do anything we can do, as a human. So let's say we want to test that our to-do list is working properly. For example, we can get, okay, I want the input that we have here in the middle. I want the input, and in this inputs, I want to type something, for example, giving my talk about Playwright at Lunch and Learn. Okay, I can press the Enter key on my keyboard. So, for example, I want to press the Enter. I can select some elements. So, for example, if I'm writing something here, you can see that my to-do list will be populated every time I had a new item. Let's say I want to be sure that my new item is visible after pressing the Enter key. We can select an element, but how can we? It will be, if you are not a developer, it can be hard to understand and to know what kind of selector I need to use in order to be able to manipulate this line of my to-do list. So how can we do that? Playwright gives us some functionality that will make the process of writing Playwright tests easier, and I will show you right now. So let's first just run this code. Yes. We are going to the to-do list. As you can see here, I fill the input form input. I press Enter, and as a result, we have our item in the list. Perfect. But now I want to be sure that the item is visible. Here we have a magic button on the top left of this part of the UI. Is a picker where we can select any part of my page. For example, here, let's say I want to manipulate this element on my test. As you can see here, Playwright make it possible to generate automatically this locator for us. We don't have to go deeper into the code. Playwright will give us this mechanism automatically. So I just need to copy paste. Okay, so let's say here we have our item. Sorry, oh, wait, get. And let's type in. Sorry for my mistake. And let's say now I want to verify the content. I can write what we call assertions. We can say, okay, I expect that my items have the content equals to something. Let's say something, I will write something wrong just to be sure that everything is okay. Let's say, I don't know, Scotland. And if I run again my test, yes, I switch off the watch mode. As you can see, my test failed. We have here an error panel where we can see the result of my test. So as you can see here, the text content of the first element of my list is not equal to Scotland. That's why I have this error. So I can reuse this one. It will be okay now. Let's say we can do, I don't know. Let's say we want to click on this check radio button. We can again get this radio button and click on it. And as a result, you can see here the CSS class has been added in order to show to us that this to-do item has been completed. We can maybe in your Playwright test that the CSS class has been added properly if we want. We can do anything. We can get element and do action. So depending of the process you want to test, you can do anything. Okay, what's things that can be interesting that we can do screenshot also. And in fact, screenshot is Playwright will take a screenshot of your test, and next time you will execute the test, it will regenerate a new screenshot and compare this screenshot to the one he already has. And if he finds one difference, the test will fail. So let's try to do that together. Wait, let's say I want to take a screenshot of my page. The first time, I think it will fail because we don't have any screenshot yet. Yes, that's totally normal, I think. Yeah, we don't have any screenshots. But if I run it again, it must be okay. Yes, it's green. But in my IDE, somewhere, I don't remember in this folder, we have a PNG file that has been executed, that has been generated, sorry. And if I do any modification on the HTML, on the CSS, anywhere that will generate a small difference on these screenshots, my test will fail. So let's, for example, I can't do any change because it's not my website. But let's say, I can. If in fact I can change something here. In fact, improve my English. Improve my English. So we will compare one screenshot that contains the doing my talk at Learn and Lunch, and one screenshot with the improve my English string. These two screenshots will not be the same, so my test will fail. Let's try. I didn't save my file. Let's execute it. And as you can see here, we have an issue. Both screenshots are not the same, so my tests are failing. And I think, yeah, we are able to see the difference. We have here the screenshot I have in my folder. I have the new screenshot. No, I have the new screenshot, sorry. I have the screenshot in my folder. And we can also compare side by side and see what is the difference. And we also have a slider that we can see on the both versions at the same time. Okay. But I'm not a developer. I don't want to write code. How Playwright can be useful, and can we generate tests with Playwright? In fact, if we have a look, let me remove this line for the moment. Okay. We have a command, a new CLI command called codegen. If I open a new terminal, I think is something like that. The same error every time. Sorry for that. It will open in the wrong window, of course. It will be too easy. Here we are. It will open two windows. One that looks like a Chrome browser, and this little tiny window where we can see some simple empty code. But in fact, on every action I will do on my main window, it will generate the code I need for my Playwright test. So for example, if I want to write the same test as before, to do, I don't remember the URL. Here we are. As you can see, it has generated one line. If I write something, let's say, I don't know, is it Edinburgh? Go back to France. We can click on element. We can check the value of an item. I want to test that this line of my list is equal to this string. I can click on this button. I can do anything. And as you can see here, all my tests have been generated. So we just need to copy paste this code into our main projects. And voila, my test is ready to be used. This is not perfect. When we have generated code, most of the time it's quite hard to maintain, but it can be a first step when you want to learn how to use Playwright. It can be a first step you can follow. So we can see we can run our test in headless mode with a browser. We can test my application on multiple browsers at the same time. we can manipulate a page, and we have a tool that we can use to generate my test. And in fact, if you are a VS Code user, we also have an extension that will make our life easier. As you can see here, we have the Playwright VS Code plugin I installed before this presentation, and it has automatically detected my test. As you can see here, we can run it directly from my IDE. I don't need to switch from my IDE to my browser. I can stay in my IDE. We can generate code. The same command I'll show you before. We have the possibility to generate the same kind of test directly from my IDE. So let's say I click on this, sorry, it's in French, save a new test. It will open something like that. We can do anywhere we want. Let's say, because I don't remember the previous URL. We can do anything we want. We can click here. And when I'm OK with that, Beam, it has created the test automatically. We don't need to copy paste as before. It will update automatically the file in my project. So it can be quite interesting. In fact, in the Playwright configuration, we can be more precise on where we want to test our application. Maybe I develop a mobile website, a mobile first website that we must test that the UI looks okay on mobile. We can define in this configuration file the size of the screen we want to use for our test, for example. Let's say I want to test, I don't know, here. Viewport. Let's say I want to test on, I don't know, I will do something very small, maybe 500. Let me show the browser. It should display a small browser with the dimension I defined in my configuration file. So if you want to test mobile first application, you can define viewport size directly from the playwright.config.ts if you want. We can also define if your website needs some authorization for, I don't know, notification, geolocalization, the language of the user. We can define every configuration that is specific to a browser. You can define in these files. For example, if I want that the local is French, if I want to test with a time zone, I don't know, Paris, something like that. If I want to enable some permission because I know that my application needs the I don't know, the geolocalization permission, we can write all this configuration in this file. It depends on your application, in fact. Let me double check if as usual, I have so many content to share in just 30 minutes. Let me have a look if I have something interesting before maybe get your question. In this example, I test an existing website, but if you want to test your own website in the playwright.config.ts file, you can ask Playwright to launch your website before running the test. So if you want to run your application, you can define this kind of command in this configuration file. And in fact, Playwright will wait that this URL is available before executing the test. And in fact, Playwright most of the time is for UI testings, but we can also, if it can be interesting for you, we can also test API. In this test function, we have another parameter that is called I don't remember, requests. And in this request, we can manipulate an API and try and verify that this API works properly. So I have an example here. I will copy paste because I don't have any time for writing this line by line. So for example, here we have an HTTP call. We create something. We don't care. We create, I think, an issue on GitHub. And here we have a session that will check that the different calls we did before has been executed properly. So if you want to test API, you can also use Playwright if you want. Last things I want to share is maybe it depends on the project, but it can be hard to have a testing environment ready to be used for a Playwright test. Why? Because when we have tests, we have to be sure that our environment is stable. We don't want I don't want to have flaky tests just because some data has not been deleted on the database. If you want, you can create Playwright tests and mocking all the HTTP calls that would be sent to the server if you want. So for example, here in my test, if my page sends a HTTP request to somebody, at any time I can mock this configuration in my tests. So for example, here, if I say, if my page sends a request to something that looks like this pattern, I don't know, data. Do not send this data physically to the server, but send this fake data that I will define fulfill in this array. So if you want to mock HTTP code, you can do that also with Playwright. It depends of what kind of environment you have, but most of the time, it can be interesting to test everything, the front end communicating with the backend and the backend communicating with the database. But if it's not possible to you, you can mock HTTP code if you want. And I think that's all for today.